The stars were calm. The Galactic Empire's patrol fleet drifted through the silent void, its ships lined in perfect formation. For the crew of the Imperial flagship Vanguard, it was supposed to be a normal day, routine scans, routine reports, nothing more. Commander Rel sat in his chair, his sharp eyes watching the holographic display. Patrol duty was boring, but it was safe. In the Empire, humans were considered a young and weak species. Their ships were small, their technology simple. At least that was what every record said. "Commander," one of the officers called suddenly. Something just exited hyperspace. A new contact, unknown signature. The bridge grew tense. Unknown ships were rare in this sector. Most traffic was scheduled, predictable, controlled by the Empire. Anything outside the expected pattern meant trouble. "Put it on the screen," Rel ordered. The view screen shifted, and then they saw it. At first glance, it looked like a ship, yes, but not like anything they recognized. The vessel was massive, far larger than the usual human shuttles the Empire knew. Its hull was dark and sharp, covered in strange glowing lines of blue light. The energy signature pulsed like a living heart. The crew froze. "That can't be right," whispered Lieutenant Sarek, scanning his console. "Our database says humans only have civilian transports, maybe light escorts, but this is no transport." The ship hovered in silence, its sheer size dwarfing anything the Empire had in this patrol. The Vanguard itself, a proud Imperial battleship, suddenly felt small, like a child standing before a giant. "Run the scan again," Commander Rel ordered, his voice colder now. The officer obeyed. The results came quickly and his face turned pale. "Commander, the energy output, it's beyond battleship class. It matches or exceeds dreadnought level power." The bridge fell into silence. No one wanted to believe what they were seeing. "This is impossible," another officer muttered. "Humans don't have this kind of technology." "They can't." Rel leaned forward, his claws tapping the console slowly. His mind raced. For years, the Empire had treated humans like children, newcomers in the galaxy, allowed to survive only because they posed no threat. But now, a single human ship had appeared, and it was radiating more power than the Empire's strongest vessels. He stood slowly, his eyes never leaving the glowing warship. "Open communications," he commanded. The comms officer swallowed hard and nodded. "Channel open, sir." "This is Commander Rel of the Imperial Fleet," he said, his voice strong but measured. "Identify yourselves. You are entering restricted space." For a moment there was nothing but silence. The crew stared at the alien warship, waiting, wondering if it would even reply. Then at last, a deep voice filled the bridge. Calm, steady, and in perfect galactic standard. "Identify yourself." The Empire crew stiffened. It wasn't a greeting. It wasn't polite. It was a demand. Commander Rel's eyes narrowed. He had spoken first, yet the humans had spoken as though they were the ones in control. It was a tone no one dared to use with the Empire. "They shouldn't talk like this," Sarek whispered. "They're humans. They should be afraid of us." But the humans were not afraid. Their warship remained steady, weapons powered but idle, shields glowing like an ocean of energy. It sat there with absolute confidence, as if daring the Empire to make the first move. Rel's mind raced. Was it possible? Could humans have built something the Empire didn't know about? Could they have hidden their strength all this time? The comms crackled again, and the human voice repeated, sharper now. "Identify yourself, or be identified." The threat was clear. The bridge crew looked at their commander in panic. "Sir, what do we do?" "If that ship attacks," Rel raised his hand. Silence. His chest was tight. His instincts screamed that this was no bluff. That ship carried the weight of death in its silence. Finally, he whispered almost to himself. "That can't be a human warship." "Is that possible?" The crew heard him, and fear spread through the room. Outside the view screen, the massive vessel slowly turned, its hull shimmering with impossible energy. It wasn't just a ship. It was a message. And the message was simple. Humans were not what the galaxy thought they were. The Empire fleet, once confident and proud, now sat frozen in terror. No one dared to fire. No one dared to move, because in that moment they all understood something terrible. If this was only one human warship, what else was waiting out there? The bridge of the Vanguard was silent. Every officer stared at the dark shape of the human ship that hung in space like a shadow. Its lights glowed with steady blue fire. Its shield shimmered with hidden strength. Commander Rel stood at the center, his mind racing. The humans had not greeted them. They had not offered peace. Instead, they had demanded identification, as if they were the rulers here. "Run another scan," Rel ordered sharply. "Yes." "Commander, the results came within seconds," and the officer's face drained of color. "Sir, the readings are the same. Energy levels far above Dreadnought class. Weapon arrays unknown. Shield composition unknown." It's like the ship is rewriting our sensors. The crew exchanged fearful looks. The Empire prided itself on knowledge, on superiority. But this ship, this human warship, it was unreadable. "Commander," Lieutenant Sarek whispered, "if that ship fires, we won't survive." Rel clenched his jaw. The thought had already crossed his mind. One blast from that vessel could end the Vanguard in seconds. And yet, the humans had not attacked. They were waiting, watching, testing. He straightened. "Open a channel again." The comms officer nodded nervously. "Channel open." Rel lifted his voice. "This is Commander Rel of the Imperial Fleet. You are entering restricted space of the Galactic Empire. State your purpose immediately." For several heartbeats, silence ruled. The crew shifted uneasily in their seats. Some prayed quietly. Others gripped the arms of their chairs so tightly their knuckles turned white. Then at last, the voice returned. Deep, calm, icy. "Your scans are useless." "Stop trying." The words struck like a blow. Officers flinched. How did the humans know? Were they inside the systems already? The comms crackled again. "You demand our purpose? We demand yours." "Why are you watching our space?" Murmurs spread across the bridge. Our space? Had the humans just claimed this sector? The arrogance was unbelievable. "They can't be serious," Sarek hissed. "This is Imperial territory, not theirs." Rel raised a hand for silence. His eyes never left the warship. "Their confidence. It's not arrogance. They know something we don't." The human ship remained still, but its presence was suffocating. Every second it floated there, the Empire's pride cracked further. Finally, Rel spoke again. His voice was careful now, less commanding. "This sector belongs to the Empire. Humans have no rights here. Explain yourselves, or we will—" Before he could finish, the human voice cut across the channel. "Or you will what?" The bridge froze. It was not a question. It was a challenge. "One ship," the human continued, voice steady as stone. "One warship, and you sit in silence. You will not fire. You will not move. Because you know the truth. The truth." Those words hung in the air like a storm cloud. Rel's heart pounded. He wanted to deny it, to shout that the Empire feared no one. But deep inside, he knew it was true. They did fear this ship. Every officer felt it. The human voice continued, low and cold. "This is not a transport. This is not a shuttle. This is a warning." The crew shivered. "Sir," the tactical officer whispered, "we cannot win this. If they fire, we're finished. We must retreat." Rel shook his head slowly. Retreat would mean weakness, but staying meant death. Both choices were poison. The human ship pulsed with light. The energy around it shifted, bending space itself. The crew gasped. "Commander," Sarek said in a broken voice, "if this is only one ship, how many more do they have?" Rel didn't answer. He had no answer. The thought itself was terrifying. On the screen, the human vessel turned slightly, its weapons tracking the Vanguard. The meaning was clear. One wrong move, one sign of aggression, and the Empire's flagship would vanish into dust. The comms flared one last time. "We know who you are. We know what you believe. You think humans are weak. You think Earth is small. But you are wrong, and soon, the galaxy will see." Then the channel went dead. The bridge was silent. No one spoke. No one even breathed loudly. They all felt it, the cold, crushing truth. This was no accident. This was no mistake. Humans had shown them a glimpse of something terrible and powerful, and the Empire was not ready. Rel sank slowly into his chair, his claws trembling against the armrest. His voice was barely a whisper, but everyone heard him. "That can't be a human warship." His officers stared at the dark vessel on the screen, their fear growing with every heartbeat. If this was only the beginning, what came next? The warship hung in silence, but its presence screamed louder than any fleet. Inside the bridge of the Vanguard, the crew worked in fear. Their hands trembled over controls. Their voices shook as they whispered updates. But nothing changed. The human vessel remained there, calm, confident, unstoppable. Commander Rel stood stiff, his eyes locked on the glowing ship. His mind was heavy with questions. How could humans, a young species, build something like this? It defied logic. The Empire's scientists had studied humans for decades. They were supposed to be weak, fragile, divided. Their ships were supposed to be small, unthreatening, and yet, here it was, a warship greater than anything the Empire had seen in centuries. "Commander," said Sarek, his voice cracking, "this is not possible. Their homeworld is barely industrial compared to us. Their colonies are small. They cannot build this." Rel's claws tapped the armrest. His eyes narrowed. He remembered something, a record, an old report buried deep in the archives of the Empire. Centuries ago, before humans joined the galactic stage, explorers had warned of them. Ancient logs, almost forgotten, carried a single message. Do not provoke Earth. They build warriors, not settlers. They fight when they must, and when they fight, they do not stop. At the time, the Empire had laughed at those words. Humans were insignificant then, a primitive world with primitive tools. But now, staring at the massive warship before him, Rel wondered if those warnings had been true. "Commander?" Sarek asked. Rel's voice was quiet, almost a whisper. Perhaps the humans were never weak. Perhaps they were only hiding. The crew exchanged nervous glances. "Sir, if they have more ships like this..." The sentence was left unfinished, but everyone knew the meaning. If Earth had a fleet of such warships, the Empire's reign was over. Suddenly, the lights on the bridge flickered. Consoles flashed, alarms beeped. "Commander," the comms officer shouted, "something is inside our systems." Rel spun around. "Inside? Explain." "It's not us, sir. It's them. The human ship. It's hacking us." The crew panicked, their hands flying over controls, trying to block the intrusion. But every firewall, every defense, every lock the Empire had built, it all fell one by one, like doors pushed open by an invisible hand. On the screen, the human ship still did not move. It didn't need to. "They're not only scanning us," Sarek whispered in horror. "They're reading us." One by one, consoles began displaying strange symbols. Files opened on their own. Reports, tactical data, ship logs, all being copied. The Empire was being stripped bare. The comms officer's voice shook. "They know everything, Commander. Our fleet positions, our supply routes, even our weapon systems." Rel's blood ran cold. This wasn't just a show of strength. This was control. Then the ship spoke again. "We see you." The voice echoed through every console, every speaker, every corner of the Vanguard. The human ship had taken over completely. "We see your weakness. We see your pride. You think yourselves rulers of the galaxy, but you are blind. You are fragile. And now, you are known." The crew froze. Some whispered prayers. Others stared at their screens with wide, terrified eyes. Rel gritted his teeth. His voice shook, but he forced the words out. "Why are you doing this? What do you want from us?" There was a pause. Then the voice returned, calm as ever. "We want nothing. We do not ask. We do not beg. We prepare." The bridge grew colder. Outside, the warship's hull shifted, and then, suddenly, it fired. A single beam of light shot into the void. It struck a nearby asteroid, and in an instant, the massive rock vaporized into dust. No explosion, no fragments. Just nothingness. The crew gasped. Their own battleships would have needed minutes of sustained fire to achieve half that effect. But the human ship had erased it with a single shot. Sarek's voice trembled. That wasn't a weapon demonstration. That was a warning. Rel stood frozen, his claws digging into the chair. His mind was screaming. He now understood. The humans had not come by accident. They had come to show the Empire one thing. They were not weak. They were not prey. They were hunters, and they had teeth sharper than anyone imagined. The human voice spoke one last time before the ship went silent again. Remember this day. Remember what you saw. Tell your Empire. The channel cut. The screens went dark. But the fear remained. The crew of the Vanguard sat in silence, their hearts pounding, their pride shattered. Commander Rel's eyes lingered on the glowing ship outside. He whispered to himself, too soft for anyone else to hear. They have been hiding all this time, preparing for us. And for the first time in his life, Rel, the proud officer of the Galactic Empire, felt the heavy weight of panic. The bridge of the Vanguard was drowning in silence. The crew barely spoke, their eyes glued to the dark shape outside. The human warship floated without fear, without movement, as if it owned the stars themselves. Commander Rel sat frozen, his mind heavy. The humans had hacked their systems, read their secrets, erased an asteroid with a single beam. Still, they had not fired at the Empire's ship. No destruction, no war, just a message: we are watching, Commander. Lieutenant Sarek's voice cracked. What do we do now? Should we retreat? Rel didn't answer immediately. Retreat would mean weakness, yet every instinct screamed that staying longer meant death. His claws tapped slowly on the chair. He could feel every officer's eyes waiting for his order. Before he could decide, the comms crackled again. The deep human voice returned, calm as ever. We do not seek battle, but you will see our strength. The crew tensed. Some officers whispered prayers. Others braced for impact. On the screen, the human ship shifted. Panels opened across its hull, glowing brighter, flooding the void with light. Energy spike! The sensor officer shouted. Unprecedented levels. Commander, it's... A blinding flash cut across the stars. The human warship fired, not at them, but into the empty void. The beam struck another asteroid cluster nearby. In an instant, half the cluster vanished, vaporized to dust. Not broken, not shattered, simply gone. Gasps filled the bridge. The tactical officer whispered, his voice shaking, "That weapon! It could erase a fleet in seconds." Rel gritted his teeth. He wanted to deny it, but the truth was undeniable. That single demonstration had shown the humans could destroy not just ships, but entire fleets, entire stations, maybe even planets. The human voice echoed once more. We are not your enemy. Unless you make us one. The crew froze. The meaning was clear. Humans had no intention to beg for peace. But they also weren't declaring war. They were placing the choice in the Empire's hands. Sarek leaned close to Rel, whispering, Commander, if they have more ships like this, the Empire cannot win. Rel's chest tightened. He imagined dozens of these warships rising from Earth, spreading across the galaxy. The balance of power would collapse. The Empire's centuries of dominance would mean nothing. The human vessel drifted closer now, slowly, deliberately. Its weapons locked onto the Vanguard, but it did not fire. The crew panicked. Some cried out, some covered their faces. They're targeting us. They'll destroy us. Rel raised a clawed hand for silence, though his own heart pounded like thunder. He stared at the screen. The human ship wasn't attacking, it was demonstrating control. It was saying, we can end you, but we choose not to. The comms flared again. The voice was colder this time. You believe yourselves masters of the galaxy. You look down on Earth. But from this day forward you will remember. We are prepared. The lights of the warship brightened, its energy radiating like a star. Then just as suddenly it dimmed. The weapons powered down. The shields folded into silence. The message was clear. Humans did not need to fight to win. They had already shown their dominance. On the bridge of the Vanguard, fear hung like a fog. Officers whispered to one another, their voices low and trembling. They could wipe out the Empire. If this is one ship, how many more wait in their home system? Commander Rel sank slowly into his chair. He had spent his life serving the Empire, believing it unshakable, eternal. But now he understood the Empire was not eternal. Nothing was. The humans had just proved it. They are not explorers, Rel muttered softly, his voice heavy with dread. They are not traders, they are warriors. The human ship remained silent now, drifting like a predator in the dark. But the fear it left behind was louder than any words. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Empire faced a truth it could not ignore. There was a new power in the galaxy, and it was rising from Earth. The crew of the Vanguard sat frozen in fear. The human warship had already hacked their systems, erased an asteroid field, and shown power far beyond the Empire's strongest fleets. Yet it still hadn't fired at them. That silence, that control, was worse than open battle. Commander Rel gripped the arm of his chair so tightly his claws left marks. He wanted to speak, to order his fleet to retreat, but his voice wouldn't come. Deep inside, he knew retreat wouldn't matter. The humans had chosen to let them live, for now. The bridge was deathly quiet. Then the comm screen lit up. Every officer turned, their hearts pounding. For the first time they saw not just the warship, but the face behind it. A human captain appeared on the display. He looked calm, steady, his eyes sharp as blades. There was no arrogance in his expression, only certainty. He spoke slowly, his voice firm and clear. "We are Earth." The crew shivered. The words carried weight, like the voice of an entire world. "You think us weak, you think us small, but you are wrong." The human leaned forward slightly, his gaze unflinching. "We do not come in peace. We do not come in war. We come prepared." The bridge fell silent. No one moved, no one dared to breathe. Those words were not a threat, not a promise. They were something worse, truth, Lieutenant Sarik whispered, barely audible. They're not bluffing, the human continued. "Your empire believes it rules the galaxy, but you rule only because no one has challenged you. That time is ending. Remember what you saw today. Remember the ship that stood alone against your fleet. And know this." The captain's voice grew colder. "If you test us, if you strike us, if you try to break us, Earth will not kneel. We will not beg. We will not fall. We will finish what you begin." The words sank deep into every officer's heart. They realized this was not just one warship. This was a messenger carrying the will of an entire species. Commander Rel's mouth was dry. He forced his voice out, though it trembled. If your people have more ships like this, the Empire cannot stand against you." The human captain did not smile. He simply answered, "Then choose wisely. Respect us nor fear us. The choice is yours." The screen went black. A moment later, the human warship moved. Its engines flared with blue fire, bending space itself. Then, with a flash, it vanished into hyperspace. The Vanguard was alone again. For several seconds, the bridge was silent, stunned. The crew stared at the empty stars, as if expecting the warship to reappear. None of them spoke. None of them could. Finally, Sarek whispered, his voice shaking. "Commander, what do we tell the Empire?" Rel closed his eyes. His mind was heavy, his heart racing. What could he tell them? That humans were no longer weak? That a single warship had humbled an Imperial fleet? That the balance of the galaxy was already broken? He exhaled slowly, his words quiet but sharp. "We tell them the truth. We tell them humans are not what we thought. We tell them the galaxy is no longer ours." The crew exchanged fearful glances. None of them wanted to deliver such a report. The Empire would not believe it. They would laugh. They would dismiss it. Until it was too late. Rel's claws tapped against the console. His voice dropped lower, almost a whisper to himself. They expected a shuttle. But what we saw today was no shuttle. It was a storm. The officers sat frozen. They knew their commander was right. Humans were awake, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again.